Today I'm going to reveal you my secret of how I do the best change management in companies when I have to implement a new solution, a new system, a new process, a new technology in the department of people who by default don't like change. So how do you do change management right? Well, before jumping into that, we need to define what do we change usually in a business. A business goal is to create value, right? Value is usually in the form of output. And to do an output, we need to create a classic input, a procedure activity, and then the output. So this is your most granular and isolated and independent level of value creation. Usually it's going to be a task, and it's going to be covered by an SOP, a standard operating procedure that will just show you. An SOP will give you an idea of what things that you need to do to attain your goal. And this is where it's quite important. The SOPs doesn't need really to exist. What really matters in the business is usually the output, because every person, if you ask them, give them the freedom to do a certain task, they'll do it freely. And usually the procedures, you can design them, but what is the percentage of time that someone really follows them? It doesn't matter, really. It does in some cases when you have very strict requirements for, let's say, the quality here, or you see that you have huge variance in terms of the time, right? Or that sometimes the cost is fluctuating. So an SOP will make those three metrics stabilize, and so more controllable. Yes, but it depends on the environment you're in, and we'll come back to later. Then there's a whole process thing, which is a set of just multiple inputs that can go into various SOPs that are done by different people, and their goal in the end, it can be like a huge department, is to get stuff done, right? At the end of this set of independent SOPs that become dependent as they're chained into a value chain, what we call a stream. So then we have the other level in the end, what we call a value stream. And a value stream is just your journey from lead to cash. So your business acquires customers, then those customers are being sold. And then once you sold your thing, you need to do the fulfillment and then collect the cash. All businesses work like this. You can really simplify it by traffic, marketing, product. Traffic is the eyes on your offer. Marketing is to convert those eyes into purchases, and then you have to deliver your product or your service. So we're just gonna call it a product. And what happens is usually you have a client with a pain and a need that becomes a client that has attained the benefits that you sold him. And you can do it through multiple processes. So let's say those are the initial processes of sales. Then you have the processes of procurement to make sure that you can acquire the resources to deliver what you need, and then the fulfillment, and then the customer success and all the activations. And you can have different permutations of inputs, procedures, and outputs within your value chain. And what really matters, once again, for your customer, those are like the three things, is the time. It can be speed, but it can also be when. So it's not only about speed. That's a very important thing that we work at AnchorPoint. Is of course the quality of your delivery, the quality of your product, also the quality of the engagement and the delivery, and how people feel when they are being treated and work with your company. And the last is the cost. We are in a capitalistic society, so usually the product that is the cheapest win. So I think there's always those offers where if you propose to someone a Lamborghini for $100, I know very few people who would say no. I actually know someone, it's crazy. Like a month ago, I met someone who told me eye to eye that they wouldn't purchase a Lamborghini that is valued at $300,000 for $100. But anyway, there are people like this in this world. Anyway, what really matters is that we talk about all the artifacts and like within your company. It can be done by different people. The amount of those artifacts within your value chain can vary. So when we speak about an SOP or a big process, I really like to just think about the output. So what great within your sequence looks like. And so real secret for how do you do the good change management is anchor your people around their outputs, but not tell them how to do it or what things to use. Usually people, they, especially if they are already in a company, they have their own SOPs or ways of working, right? And you bring even the slightest change, people hate it and they resist because they have their habits. So the secret to do the right change management is just not to add any change to how they work. It can be tempting, but when you implement like a solution that helps your people to where you want to go, you have to collaborate with them. You can't. There's like triangle of operational excellence. Let's say a triangle, and it's very important to understand. There's like people aspect, there is the and then there is the technology and and so this is the holy trinity of excellence. Excellence is how you get there. If you come to an organization and you want to change all those things at the same time, like the people, the process, and tech, you're gonna fail. But if you want to reach ops excellence, you don't have a choice to do the three of them. But there is a know-how in terms of how you approach the people first, then how you work around their process and how you implement the tech. And there's a rhythm and there's a dance, and like no like bullet or one book on how to do it. But there is a way, and that experience comes from, let's say, man. Like this is one of the books that I really like called High Output Management. This sir, like the former chairman and CEO of Intel, and there's one graphic that I really liked about him. Says that the goal of a manager is just one thing: is to be judged on the output of his subordinate and his team. And his only job is to make sure that every single individual is at the highest point of individual capacity. And so the performance is the y-axis. The higher you go, the better. Individual capacity is like an angle here. So the more you increase your angle, the higher you have the motivation. And then if the individual capacity is the x-axis goes to the right, you have the highest performance. So your job as a leader and a manager is one, to increase the skills of your team. So you can do that either through giving them, recipe and they learn it by heart and like execute. So usually this is effective in low complexity jobs, like it doesn't require a lot of like power. And you actually train your people on culture, on a set of values, on what great looks like, and you make them customer obsessed, and you don't really care about how they reach their goal as long as they do it. And another approach. And then the motivation is the environment that you provide them. There was a graphic that I put into this place. I like this example from his book in terms of individual motivation. People can be collectivist, like a group interest, let's say like China, and then can be very self-interested or very independent, like South America. There's no right and wrong, honestly. Like there's always like in between those profiles of a company. But what really doesn't work is when you have a very individual person that evolves in an environment where there's no QA factor, which means like QA is complexity, uncertainty, ambiguity. Okay, if we come back to this example, you have people who are in a group interest, and there's a lot of complexity and ambiguity. It's actually very important to have cultural values that unite your work and things done very well. And essentially your business, it will always have like some part of ambiguity and uncertainty. And what you want to always do as a leader is never have this to be in that zone where nothing works. Your goal is as much as possible to, like it's the other way around that we want to go. Okay, here. Okay, this doesn't want to collaborate today. But yeah, you go from left here to sometimes market forces or cultural values or contractual obligation. And you do that so to remove the complexity, uncertainty, through making sure that instead of just creating a lot of uncertainty on inputs, a lot of uncertainty on procedure activities, and a lot of uncertainty in the outputs, you just focus on outputs. That's everything that matters. You give the people the goal, And first you say, listen, just do this and make sure that we as a collective define what great looks like, and then we're going to work on the variance. So a very good digital transformation, like where actually the text comes in, like how do you do that move? It's like the value chain by creating a digital twin of your whole operations, but you can't do that right away. You need it to go step by step. So what we usually do is that instead of like modeling the whole thing here with just inputs and procedures, we're just gonna focus on those things. Like boom, even we remove the output, like the inputs, like honestly, because we need inputs. So we model just those pieces, like the outputs. And what really matters first is maybe to like, this one is not defined. I need to do the style here. Let's say the dotted line is something that we skip at first because we don't know, but it's maybe this one, yeah, absolutely need, because it's the final one. Okay, wait a second, I'll come back. Okay, those are must, because those are the final result that your customer gets. But let's say if you have something in between that is missing, I mean, what is the most important is that all those at the end of like the process that usually are needed for input of the next step are defined. So once again, this one is quite important to get, but everything in between, or even the procedures, don't care about them. Like SOPs are very important because once again, they help you optimize the time, the quality, and the cost at every single step. But you have to go very methodical. And one of the things that I wanted to say is that a lot of people, like, they'll to your business, you like, maybe you won't even know what's your value chain and you won't know what's your procedure, but they're gonna say, oh, dude, within your business, you need this process to have AI. And so like this, put AI here. But you're like, okay, even know why I should put AI here. Is it a constraint? Is it a bottleneck? Are you under or over capacity? AI is usually just a little tool that helps you, faster or do things at the right time, increase the quality or optimize the cost, or the free at the time. If you have the whole free, like it's banger. Honestly, usually it's a no-brainer, but still, you have to ask the question: is it really like the investment you can do? So I would say before implementing any AI, just your value chain right, and create the systems that help you communicate and have one source of truth of your value chain. And so to do that, that's very hard. Like actually, it was very hard to do. But we at AnchorPoint Data Technology, we've been that for over 10 years for different companies, and we build very, very custom systems, like with the OpsOS, the operations operating system that helps you, like, honestly go those big stages and all your different permutation. You click and you can see like all your activities, and you can actually, in one glance of a view, understand what is the state of your value chain. So this is like a very example of what we do, but in the end, like what I want to show you in terms of the change management, etc., is like once you do this, this is where you want to go. You have always these metrics that I really like. I didn't see it anywhere else, but it's really something that we built at AnchorPoint. Is like you have a y-axis, the highest impact and the lowest impact work, and then from left to right you have low variability, high variability, so the QA factor, and then you have I would say a task is the impact for your business. So the highest impact is like basically the amount of money for every single unit of work, unit of effort that will be done. And so this is how you should define how you allocate who does what. So the highest impact and the highest variability, complexity, etc., it's the owner or your best A players that should be doing that. So let's say here, high internal performance, someone who would here in terms of the individual capacity. They're your best and they both motivated. Those are your A players. You put them here. When it's low variability, low complexity, you can also assign it to internal talent, and you can put AI agents, because if there's low variability, you can like guarantee the quality and avoid like all that stuff. And when it's low impact, this is something that you as an owner, you don't want to touch. Usually you to only keep your internal talent team to work on high variability and complexity. And everything else, this is where maybe AI and virtual assistants, VA, that's virtual assistant, you want to give it to them. And so that's pretty much a good way to think about how you do a good change management within your company. But honestly, that takes few weeks, few months, sometimes depending on the complexity of your business, and we help you with that. So, well, there's a lot of things that we covered in this video. Tell me what you think. I can do other deep dives in terms of how those things are done specifically in the context of small, medium-sized businesses. Some of those were developed within the enterprise world, but in the past it was very expensive, cost was high, time very long, and quality very variable for small, medium-sized businesses. Only the big companies could absorb the risk in terms of the resources and financial to do it right. But yeah, now AnchorPoint innovate. We bring this beauty to the world, small and medium-sized businesses. So if you're drowning in work and working over 70 hours a week, and your director of operations has 3 hats and they're overwhelmed, yeah, go on our call with us. It would be great to talk to you, learn more, and see if we can help you. Voila. Thank you so much. This is my last day in New York. I'm going to see you in a few days in Montreal. Tomorrow we travel from New York to Montreal. So I'm going to be thinking about another video that I can do. But until then, take care, subscribe, leave a comment, and take care. Bye.